This story is all about how Will Smith's financial life got turned upside down. Okay, you see what we did there?
I love it.
So Will Smith wasn't always Big Willie style, Fresh Prince style. He was at one point broke Will style. Do you know this story about Will Smith?
I don't. You just asked me to pull it up, and I'll pull it up right now.
Okay. So Will Smith, we all know him. If you want to show his net worth, we all know him. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Bad Boys, Men in Black, Independence Day, Ali. Now he's playing the Venus and Serena Williams' father, King.
Oh, that's right.
Williams.
Phenomenal actor, man.
Right. He's worth $350 million apparently. Okay,
Yeah.
That's Big Will style. But he wasn't always chilling with the dough, if you know what I'm saying. He had his fair share of financial issues. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show, with this story about Will Smith, but we're going to talk about it right now and what he did at the beginning of his career, what he had to learn, how he had to manifest greatness to become who he was today. So, recently Will Smith was speaking in London. He was being interviewed by none other than Idris Elba.
Oh,
you know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay. And basically he goes on to tell this story about when he was just getting started, how he borrowed 10 grand from a drug dealer in West Philadelphia.
Born and
where
raised?
He was born and raised, clearly. After he went broke from doing what a lot of entrepreneurs don't do, forget to pay their taxes. I don't even know if he forgot, so we'll get into that. So basically, here's a Business Insider story about basically, let me just set the table here with Will Smith. So dude starts off in his teens, early 20s, and he starts making music. This is before your day.
But I'm aware.
Do you remember the songs that he...
Yeah.
Basically, he won 2 Grammys.
West Philadelphia.
No, that's not what he won a Grammy for. Do you know what he won a Grammy for? 2 songs,
tell me.
actually. To all of my kids all across the land, no need to fake it. Parents just don't understand. That was his first song.
Okay.
Parents just don't understand. Won a Grammy, 1989. A couple years later, summertime. 1991, nothing. This is ringing 0 bells. Gen Z, get with the freaking program. Will Smith was killing it. Basically, late 80s, early 90s, he wins 2 Grammys. He comes on the scene. Before he's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he's just the Fresh Prince, right? He wins 2 Grammys. He's killing it. He's making loot. He's spending money left and right. And then all of a sudden, the IRS came knocking on his door. And they're like, yeah, you owe us $2.8 million, Will. He's like, what? I didn't pay taxes?
No way.
Yeah, 100%. He said they garnished his wages. Wait till you hear the story about Will Smith. They garnished his wages. They started taking his possessions. So, again, he was being interviewed by Idris Elba in London, UK. And he says, basically, look, quote unquote, I'm not sure what the government is like with taxes in the UK, but in the US, they take that shit seriously. So Uncle Sam wanted his money. He's like, I didn't even forget to pay. I just didn't pay, straight up. So I had to sell everything, 1990, so I can afford to start my career and move out to L.A. because he knew that he needed to be out in L.A. West Philadelphia, born and raised, wasn't exactly where he was going to make his career. So basically what he says is he borrowed, quote unquote, 10 grand from a friend of mine who was a purveyor of neighborhood pharmaceuticals, a.k.a.
a drug dealer.
Your friendly neighborhood drug dealer.
Right.
Exactly. Takes 10 grand, moves out to L.A., boom, books the gig as the French Prince of Bel-Air. This is 1990 on the spot. And he says this. Get this, for all our friends out there that don't understand about the concept of paying taxes and, the tax man, Uncle Sam, he says this. For the first 3 years of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the IRS was taking 70% of every paycheck. And after the 3rd year, I got back to 0. It's terrible to have that kind of success and have to quietly be broke. First 3 years of Fresh Prince, right? Uncle Phil out there, Jeffrey, Carlton Banks doing his thing. Will Smith is not making any freaking money because he owes $2.8 million to the IRS. Took him 3 years to get back to neutral, right? This is what happens when you don't pay your freaking taxes. You're spending money like a drunken sailor, like you're a politician. So he then goes on to say, look, being famous and broke, this is a shit combination, okay? Because you're still famous and people recognize you and you get all the stuff with that, but the people that recognize you while you're sitting next to them on the bus. So you're like, it's not so cool.
Yeah.
So the lesson here with this, and this intro story about Will Smith, he's become great. He's one of the greatest. His kids are amazing. His wife, awesome. I mean, aside from all the issues they've had on the sexual side of things, we won't get into that. No matter how great you are, you're always going to have to learn something early on. I'd rather him learn, early on than basically having tax problems right now. So basically, this money game, it ain't easy. No matter who you are, you're going to have to basically learn the ropes. Uncle Sam ain't no joke. We all know that here in America. So when you're doing your taxes, when you're making your money, you got to understand you got to account for Uncle Sam. Most people pay about 20% in taxes. Some a little bit less, some a little bit more if you're in the 30-something% bracket. But anyone can get caught up with Uncle Sam. So he learned his lesson. He's doing his thing. Fresh Prince, boom, boom, boom. West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground. He spent most of his days. Now he's chilling in Bel Air. And then he's like, all right, cool. I got back to neutral. I'm starting to make money again. What's the next goal? And basically, he had very lofty aspirations. He says, then my next goal is to become the biggest movie star in the world. Okay? So he basically had a plan on a very strategic plan on how to implement this. You can pull up this story, Dave. So he starts studying the Hollywood greats, seeing who's killing it, learning from their success, who's killing it in the box office, and he sets his sight on one person who was killing it in the 90s. Who was that one person? None other than Tom Cruise. That was the man to beat.
What a
apparently.
duo. Have they done a movie together?
I don't know.
That'd be a sick movie.
Sick movie, huh? These days, I don't know. How old, Tom Cruise is probably 60. Will Smith probably in his mid-50s.
Tom Cruise is not 60 years old.
How old do you think he is?
In his 50s. Maybe. Yeah,
I
50s.
think you're definitely wrong. Go ahead. Pull
Tom
it up.
Cruise in his 60s?
Yeah, I think he's 60 years old. How old is he?
All right, let's look him up right now.
Tom Cruise, age. Somebody help us out
Tom
here.
Cruise age. I'm looking it up. Tom Cruise is 59 years old.
Okay.
I win.
You win.
I win. Yeah, he's not in his 60s, in
When's
his
he
50s.
turn 60?
July 3rd.
Okay, so he'll be 60 in 6 months.
Yeah, baby.
All right, you win this one. All right. So basically, he sets his sight on Tom Cruise. He starts emulating everything about this guy, following his plan, seeing what he's doing, watching his moves, basically stalking Tom Cruise, saying, I got to beat this guy. He's monitoring his activities, watching his greatness, while he's trying to outwork him, while trying to outshine him. He says, whatever Tom Cruise is doing, I'm going to do it for 2 more hours every single day. And he's watching and he's watching him. He's watching. And finally, one day he goes, yeah, I can't keep up with Tom Cruise. This guy has the most effort I've ever seen in my life. By far and away the most effort in Hollywood. He says, quote unquote, either Tom Cruise is a cyborg or there's 6 of them. That's how hard Tom Cruise was working. So what's my point of this? I'm telling the story about Will Smith starting off, tax issues. He gets to Hollywood, Fresh Prince, starts to make money, repays it back. He starts emulating the greats. He focused on Tom Cruise, and he's like, I'm just trying to outwork Tom Cruise. I'm going to outwork Tom Cruise. And Will Smith, as great as he is, couldn't even outwork Tom Cruise. That's how good he was. So I love hearing these stories about the greats, the greatest actors of our generation in many scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio, some might say. Denzel, some might say. McConaughey, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Will Smith and Tom Cruise, goats.
No doubt.
I love hearing their stories about work ethic. Because at the end of the day, we're going to talk about work ethic in this episode for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to cover about 4-day work weeks, what people are doing, implementing work week, obviously everything we've had in unemployment, stimulus checks, everything like that. We're going to be talking about the 4-day work week in a second. But when you hear, at the end of the day, Will Smith put a plan together to try to be the GOAT, and he tried to outwork Tom Cruise and couldn't, because that's how hard Tom Cruise was working. It makes you realize, oh shit, if you want to be great, one of the greats, got to put in that work.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
These guys are different from everyone else, obviously.
Yeah.
So they're doing something that the layman isn't. So definitely a lot to learn. I was going to make a point about Will Smith, but I forgot what it was. Let's move on.
Anyway, he's putting in the work. The question is, are you putting in the work? A lot of people in America ain't trying to put in that work. What do you have to say?
Right. No, I just think it's so interesting. Yeah. A lot of people, I think, especially my generation, if my employer isn't paying my taxes, I wouldn't know. And I was like working for myself.
Yeah.
I had no idea on how to pay my taxes.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the equation. Is if
Yeah.
you're an employee, your taxes are going to come out. If you're a 1099 entrepreneur, independent contractor, that's 100% something you need to be aware of. Like Will Smith, independent contractor at the time, right?
Right,
He just
exactly.
get paid by record labels, was an employee, tax man cometh. So no matter where you're at in your career, you got to put in the work, says Will Smith. If you enjoyed that short clip from the Soscast, click here to watch another, click here to watch the full episode, or just stay broke.